Caffeine is one of the most widely used stimulants around the world. We all love it, but let's uncover what caffeine really does to our bodies and mind. First off, when it comes to the sources, we can obtain it through coffee, cocoa, chocolate, energy bars, or even additives such as guarana. Of course, the amounts of caffeine in milligrams will vary depending on the source. When it comes to the effects, caffeine acts quickly, typically taking effect within 5 to 30 minutes of consumption. It can increase heart rate, enhance alertness, and provide a boost in energy. But excessive intake can lead to adverse effects such as jitteriness, anxiety, and sleep disturbances. Have to be careful because in severe cases, it can pose serious health risks, such as heart-related diseases, psychiatric ones, or even death. As a drug itself, regular caffeine consumption can lead to dependency and tolerance, and if we get used to and then stop taking it, it can trigger withdrawal symptoms including headaches, fatigue, and irritability. It is advised that we gradually reduce caffeine intake to mitigate these effects. When it comes to neurobiological mechanisms of action, the most common interaction is with adenosine receptors. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors in the brain, which regulates relaxation and sleepiness. At higher doses, it can impact calcium levels and other neurotransmitters, potentially leading to restlessness and anxiety, such as interactions within ion channels, GABA receptors, or the inhibition of phosphodiesterase. In essence, the brain structures affected by caffeine consumption are basal ganglia, prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, thalamus, amygdala, and the brainstem. Moving on to research, our paper investigated the impact on caffeine consumption on sleep quality, the impact of caffeine deprivation and withdrawal, and the reversal of sleep deprivation performance deficits through the use of caffeine. When it comes to the impact on caffeine consumption on sleep quality, it was shown that people who consume a lot of caffeine regularly were also the ones who felt the most tired during the day. In fact, that led them to take more caffeine, which in the end was putting them in a cycle of non-ending tiredness because they were drinking more caffeine and that was impairing their sleep quality. Overall, the impact of caffeine on sleep is going to depend a lot on the individual, its environment, and the time they take caffeine. Furthermore, when it comes to the impact of caffeine deprivation and withdrawal, it was shown that people who regularly use caffeine experience withdrawal every night, which could affect their mood and performance. In fact, studies comparing caffeine users and non-users suggested that quitting caffeine could make it harder to perform well in the morning, especially for those who don't normally use it. However, other studies in animals generally show that caffeine has a positive effect on performance. However, it's important to highlight that the performance depends on the activity performing. Finally, when it comes to improving performance deficits caused by sleep deprivation using caffeine, research shown that even though caffeine can improve performance during sleep deprivation, it can also impair sleep itself, because using caffeine to enhance performance can lead to the increased tiredness on the following day, which would lead to a higher consumption. It is complex to analyze the effects of caffeine due to the limitations in models. Some highlighted that the relationship is not so clear, and improving sleep performance after abstaining from caffeine may be due to rehearsing withdrawal effects, because regular caffeine intake increases adenosine receptors, and reducing the intake decreases them over time. Therefore, caffeine impact on performance appears independent of subjective fatigue feelings, and using it to stay alert during night shifts can affect subsequent recovery sleep efficiency. In conclusion, there's few models to predict how caffeine and sleep together affect performance. But when caffeine was included, they showed a boost in performance, especially in activities like sports and the military. Therefore, caffeine generally helps physical and mental performance, although its effects vary between people and situations. Despite some downsides, people tend to use caffeine to enhance performance because it is easier than making sure they get enough sleep. But sleep is of the essence.